What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and to another WNBA video. We have a 4-game slate to dive into for Sunday, June 1st, tipping off our Commissioner Cup games for this season. So we'll break down and analyze each of those games. We're going to talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points and the spread, and then any plays that I put in officially myself. Make sure you check down there into the pinned comment. You're going to find a link down there that will send you over to the Guy Boston Sports website, and that's where all of my final plays will live for free. But before we go ahead and dive into those games, let's take a look back at Friday's picks and Saturday's picks. Let's see what we took and how that ended up going down. Friday, we finished 4-3. It was a touch disappointing, man, because we kind of were staring at a 6-1 night, right? Uh, and then a couple teams falter late in their games, lose leads late in those games, and we end up going 4-3. One of those was the Storm on the money line. They were taking on the Dream, and like I said, had a lead for the majority of that game and in the fourth quarter, and they stumbled down the stretch. So we don't cash on that one. And this next one, just kind of a bad read, man. Getting a little too hyped on the Mystics, I think, right? I took the Mystics plus 14.5 and an alternate total under 170.5. They end up getting smoked by 22 against the Liberty. So we cash on that under, but we don't hit on that 14.5. So that parlay does not hit. We took the Mercury plus 5.5, put 3/4 of a unit on that. And then we split a full unit because we put a quarter unit on the Mercury on the money line, which I probably would not have done had I known that Alyssa Thomas was not going to play. I probably still would have took the Mercury on the with the points, but probably just would have put the full unit on that one, right, and not risk that money line play at all. Alyssa Thomas was a late scratch in this one. I think it came out maybe 10 to 15 minutes before tip off. And it also came out, once they ruled her out, that she had not practiced Thursday. But that wasn't listed anywhere. She wasn't listed on the injury report at any point. So not really cool, man, in my opinion, right? I think this is something that the WNBA should look into, and I don't know, man. There's got to be some kind of time frame on this because, I mean, what better way to continue to grow your sport than to piss off sports bettors around the world, right? That's going to help. So definitely not a fan of that. But we do cash on the Mercury plus 5.5 at the 3/4 unit play, but we do not cash on the money line. Despite Alyssa Thomas not playing, the Mercury held a lead in that game and squandered that one late as well. So just not a fun night, man. But we did take Asia Wilson, top point scorer in her game at plus money, and that one does cash. Took another same game parlay in these Washington Mystic rookies. I think this is the 4th time that we've cashed on one of these parlays so far this season. Every one that we put in with these players, we have cash. Kiki Arafin, 10 plus points, 6 plus rebounds, and then Sonia Citron, 1 3-pointer, and they cash on that one with ease, man, despite getting blown out. Then we took the Sparks and the Aces, took an alternate total over 162.5, and we cash on that one as well. So 4-3 for Friday. Then we move over to Saturday. It's a similar situation, man, where injury kind of bit us on this play, right? Now, this one we tried to jump the line quick, right? I tried to get in on the Wings money line. It came out at minus 125. I had a feeling that a lot of money was going to start coming in on that and move that number up. So I jumped on that minus 125 and then put my video out, and then immediately after I finish editing and I'm uploading the video, I see the news that Paige Beckers has been ruled out for the next 2 games at least, and they end up losing. So we don't cash on that one. But we ended up taking Orike Gumbawale over 2.5 rebounds, put a quarter unit on that one, and we do cash. 34-31 overall is our record. So we're in the green. We're in the green, but we definitely look to improve. We want to start stacking up on those units. Still playing everything light, man. I have not played anything above 3/4 of a unit. And I think I've only put 2 plays in at that even, right? Most everything has been at quarter units. Here and there, we throw things in at half units, and then very rarely, like I said, we've thrown a couple in at a 3/4 unit play. But playing everything light, playing everything conservative. The WNBA has been volatile this season to start off, man. A lot of inconsistency throughout the middle tier. We'll talk about that, man, in this video here. A lot of those middle tier teams, it's kind of hard to determine which way they are going, man. One day they look great and they look elite. The next day they look like they're bottom feeders, right? But we have Commissioner Cup action tipping off now. We have some exciting basketball coming our way, guys. If you are new to the WNBA, I'm going to go ahead and break it down just a little bit for you guys right here. There's 36 games that are going to be played that count towards the Commissioner Cup. This is basically a mid-season tournament, same thing that the NBA does now. And these games run through June 1st through June 17th. Every team is going to play one game against each team in their conference. And then at the end of it, the teams with the best record on each side of their conference is going to meet for the championship. Now, if there is a tiebreaker, point differential is the thing that is going to separate them in that tiebreaker. So this is one of those things, man, in these Commissioner Cup games. you're not going to see a team get up big and then start resting their players, right? They're going to continue to put it on that other team. So keep that in mind with your bets. Like I said, that point differential does matter. If there is a tiebreaker, that is what solves that tiebreaker. So I said, man, ain't nobody sitting nobody. They're trying to score as much as they can, run up the points on you. It's pretty fun, right? And the biggest thing for them is winner takes home a $500,000 prize pool, which is a big deal for the WNBA, man. They don't have $1 million salaries like the NBA. It's been well documented, right? We don't have to go into that. So that extra $500,000 split up between the team is a big deal. And it's the main motivation in this. You ask any of these players, like, yeah, the bragging rights are cool. It's all about that money, right? And we know money talks, man. That's why we're all here, right? So definitely makes these games interesting. Kind of gives them that playoff vibe, man. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's get into the action. Our first game is going to be the Connecticut Sun taking on the New York Liberty. Liberty are laying 18.5 in this one, total sitting at 162.5. We have a 3 p.m. tip-off time for this one. It's going to be the Liberty's fourth game now in 6 days, which in that span included a back-to-back with travel. But man, who cares, right? These trends just don't seem to matter for New York. They still come into this game undefeated at 6-0. It's the second game of a two-game road trip for Connecticut, and they are fresh off of their first win of the season. It was an 85-83 thriller over the Caitlin Clark-less Fever. They again, though, almost squandered the lead late, man, as they've done multiple games already this year. The Liberty, they're coming in off of that convincing win over the Mystics that we spoke about earlier, man. It was on that back end of that back-to-back with travel that we just mentioned moments ago. This was honestly probably the best that I've seen them look defensively this season. And look, although Washington is young and no juggernaut on the offensive end yet by any means, I said yet, that's right. They were completely stifled by both the Liberty's interior and perimeter defense. New York held Washington to just 21 of 74 shooting from the field. That is only 28%, and then 25% from deep at just 4 of 16 shooting. The Liberty themselves, though, they continue to dominate on the offensive end. They are averaging 90 points per game. That is first in the W while making the most three-pointers and shooting at the highest overall shooting percentage from the field. They are first all across the board in offensive, defensive, and net rating to open up the year. First for effective field goal and true shooting percentage. They've been dominant inside, man, with both Jones and Stewie firing on all cylinders to open up the year. The Liberty are making the second most shots from inside that restricted area in the paint and doing so at the highest shooting percentage in the league. The Sun are allowing the second most field goals from inside the restricted area and giving up the third most points in the paint. So, not a good look for Connecticut whatsoever, man, with this New York team coming to town. The Sun are hitting the third most shots from the mid range and at the fourth highest shooting percentage. They score the third highest percentage of their points from the mid range across the W, but this is not going to serve them well against a Liberty team that is giving up the fifth lowest amount of mid range field goals per game and at the second lowest shooting percentage in the W, 30%. Now, look, I've said it before and I'll say it again, man. It's tough to lay these double digit spreads with the Liberty, but right now, it's even more tough to look any way other than New York. So I gotta lean laying the points with the Liberty, even though it is 18.5. And this is where that Commissioner Cup play comes into play, right? Because Liberty are more than capable of getting out ahead of this Connecticut team by a large margin. And if they do, we should not expect them to rest their players, right? I do expect them to just keep running up the score as much as they can. So that definitely will play into our favor here if we end up taking the Liberty on the side. But that is definitely the way that I would be leaning. The Sun have lost multiple games by double digits as well. And this could potentially be a letdown spot for them after just barely holding off the Fever for their first win. We've seen the Liberty win by 20 plus in 3 of the 6 games that they played this season. Then looking at the total, I initially was looking at it under because I feel like if New York plays up to their defensive potential like they have in recent games, Sun are really going to struggle to score here. And this may be a game where they struggle to break 60 points even. The issue with this is the Liberty can explode on offense at times. And this Connecticut defense, who sits at second to last in defensive rating while giving up the third most points per game, is most likely going to have a ton of trouble with the Liberty team at home in a Commissioner Cup game where point differential matters. So I'd be worried about the Liberty doing enough to push this one up and over that mark. So they've gone under the mark in 2 games straight, but this Sun defense is significantly worse than that of the Mystics and even the Valkyries. So I'm not sure that I could get there with an under. A Liberty team total over maybe to look instead. We don't have to sweat out the Sun. and what they do, but instead we can trust what we've seen from New York so far. In that team total sitting at 90.5, but we can get a night at 89.5. We can get an 88.5 as well. It just depends on how much juice you want to pay. You can look at plus money as well and get it up over 90, 91.5, 92.5. So definitely some options there. But if I was going to look at anything, that would probably be the route that I went, would be a Liberty team total over. The next up, we'll be looking at the Phoenix Mercury taking on the Los Angeles Sparks. Sparks open up as 1.5 point favorites. That has now moved to 2.5. Total sitting at 160.5. And this is a 6 p.m. tip off. This is an interesting one here, man, with the Sparks opening up as favorites. They are home, but they come into this one just 1-3 at home so far this year, 2-5 altogether, with their only wins coming over the expansion Valkyries and the Sky, two of the W's lower tier teams. The Mercury, meanwhile, have opened up the year 4-2, but come in off of a disappointing loss to the Lynx their last time out, and they held a 3-point lead with just over a minute left in regulation. And honestly, for most of the second half in general, they had the lead. But they were sloppy with the ball down the stretch. They allowed a game-tying three with 53 seconds remaining in the game. Then they squandered two opportunities to regain the lead, instead turning the ball over 2 times. Alyssa Thomas missed that one for Phoenix as a late scratch, like we talked about earlier. She's been ruled out here for this one as well, along with Natasha Mack. Cockhopper is still out for at least 2 to 4 weeks for the Mercury as well. Sparks are going to be without Ray Burrell for another 4 to 6 weeks, but after initially being labeled as game time decisions, Cam Brink and Rakia Jackson have both been ruled out as well. So this is a hard one to call with all the names we see listed on that report on each side, and then the Sparks coming in as favorites. These two met head to head once this season already. It was a 3-point win in Phoenix for the Mercury about a week and a half ago. These two were honestly pretty evenly matched, and maybe that's why the Sparks come in here as favorites, but it's still weird to me. um, you know, when you look up and down the team stats for that game, both were shooting just over 40% from the field, just under 35% from deep. LA actually slightly edged Phoenix out on the Battle of the Glass despite losing that game. That game was mainly defined by runs, man. We saw the Sparks jump out ahead early. The Mercury kind of countered and went up by double digits. LA came back, took a lead again. Only for Phoenix to respond with a 24-7 run in the third quarter that had them entering the fourth up by 13. Then LA outscored them by 10 in the fourth quarter and was a toe on the line away from tying the game up with 4 seconds to play with what appeared to be a three from Kelsey Plum, but ended up being a two. And then from there, the Mercury were able to close things out and escape with that 89-86 victory. I don't know, man. All the money is coming in on the Mercury side, and we're still just slowly seeing that line. It was slowly moving to reflect that number, that money coming in, but now it's back to moving towards the Sparks in that direction. Something just feels trappy about this one. So I don't know, man. End of the day, Phoenix has a better team, in my opinion, with the better record, more impressive wins here early. So I'd be leaning Phoenix with the plus money. But the Sparks did match up with them well, as we discussed, and this is a revenge spot for them at home. So I don't think I could talk anybody off that LA side either. Like I said, man, that line is just fishy to me. It has me really, really questioning why the Sparks are favored and what do I not know? What am I missing here? So probably one that I stay off of as far as the side is concerned. Even though that money line is so enticing with Phoenix, man, at plus money. But for the total, the Sparks have gone up and over this line 5 of the 7 games that they played this season. But the Mercury look to muck games up, man, right? They are beating teams with defense, not offense. Both these teams are playing at a slower pace as well. The Mercury stood at 8th for pace, and LA is actually slightly below them at 9th. So an under? Well, that last game out, we saw these two combine for 175 points, and we've seen these two go up and over this line in 4 straight games head to head. There's been a ton of money coming in on the under, but for me, I can see without AT, Phoenix putting up a little more points, but being a little more susceptible on defense. But then without Rakia Jackson on LA side, they're now down a wing that can score from all 3 levels, and it's just yet another cutter for a roster that is full of players that excel cutting to the basket. So another one where I'm kind of back and forth, but I'd lean over. But I'll just have to see if I can get anywhere with this game. End of the day, man. Make sure you check down there into the pin comment. Next up, we're going to be looking at the Las Vegas Aces taking on the Seattle Storm. Aces are 1.5 point favorites, total sitting at 163.5. Tip off of 6 p.m. It's another interesting one, man, and I love it. We are getting some great matchups to open up the Commissioner Cup. And guys, if you are new to the W, like I said, these games are pretty similar to playoff games as far as intensity is concerned, with all that money on the line. The Aces, though, they're going to come into Seattle looking for some revenge with this Storm team after getting blown out by 20 last Sunday. That one also in Seattle. Um, and that's important, man, because the Storm have been pretty dominant at home. And I know they just lost at home, right? But hear me out. They haven't lost back-to-back games in Seattle since July of 2023. So almost 2 years, right? Vegas is 3-2 straight up. 2-3 to the number, while the Storm sit at 3-3 straight up, 4-2 against the spread. But they are in the midst of a two-game losing streak currently. But as good as Vegas looked their last time out against the Sparks, we haven't seen them do it against higher quality opponents yet. And despite the 500 record, Seattle is a higher quality opponent than LA. The Aces' 3 wins come against teams with a combined record of 6-13. The Storm, on the other hand, have clocked wins over the 4-2 Phoenix Mercury and then these Aces, along with a convincing win in Dallas. And then their 3 losses have all come at the hands of teams sitting with a combined record of 14-4. I have a hard time seeing the Storm drop 2 in a row at home, man, and they've shown me more so far this season, so I'm going to lean Seattle here. But guys, this is a tough slate, man. I'm just full disclosure, right? And things have been so inconsistent with these middle tier teams to start this year. And this short line indicates that, man, that this one is essentially a pick 'em. If you're on Vegas, this is a spot where I wouldn't try to talk you down, right? I just feel like Seattle has the upper hand here, being at home. Looking at the total, these two obviously crushed this line the last time out, but it's got to be noted that Seattle shot 60% from the field in that one, 50% from deep, and that's just not how Seattle typically beats you. Storm play at the slowest pace in the W, and they allow the 5th fewest points per game to opponents. They're looking to beat you physically and defensively, man. That's the style of play that they play. Prior to their last meeting head to head, these two had hit under this line in 5 of their last 6 meetings as well. So I'm going to lean under in this one. Then our 4th and final game on the slate, looking at the Minnesota Lynx taking on the Golden State Valkyries. We see the Lynx as 9.5-point favorites now, and that total has dropped. Opened up at 164.5. We now see it at 161.5. 8:30 p.m. tip-off time for this one. This is going to be the second game of a 2-game road trip for Minnesota, who comes into this one undefeated at 6-0 and off of an impressive come-from-behind victory without their MVP candidate, Nafisa Collier. The Lynx have been made favorites in each of their games open up the year, though, and they have only covered in 2 of those 6 games. The Valkyries are going to be home for this one with a 1-day rest advantage over the Lynx. They sit at 3-2 against the spread, but are 2-3 straight up and coming in off of back-to-back losses to the defending champion, New York Liberty. Golden State has been better expected defensively, though, man. They are sitting at 6 in the W for defensive rating and opponents' overall shooting percentage from the field, but they do sit at 3rd to last in terms of 3-point shooting allowed. Minnesota is 5th in the W currently for 3-point shooting, but we know that they have shooters over there, right? Courtney Williams, Bridget Carlton, Kayla McBride, Alana Smith. When their perimeter shooting starts heating up, they are one of the toughest teams in the W to defend. Minnesota is sitting at 3rd for offensive rating as compared to Golden State, who is dead last in that regard. The Lynx are 4th for defensive rating and 2nd in overall net rating, while the Valkyries come in at 11th for overall net rating. Now, Fee is listed as a game time decision here, but I feel like, with this one being a cup game, we have a good chance of seeing her suit up and come on out. But until I know for sure, I can't get there to lay that many points with Minnesota, but I am leaning that way. Now, if Fee is ruled in, man, I'm laying those points easy, man, and looking for Minnesota to just completely overwhelm the Valkyries in their first ever head-to-head meeting here in a Commissioner Cup game, right? And the Lynx did win the cup last year, right? Maybe, that's something that, like I said, the bragging rights aren't nearly as important to these players as that sack of cash at the end, right? But the bragging rights are still bragging rights. I definitely think that the Lynx would love to not only defend this, but get that bag at the end as well. So I definitely look for them to come out swinging in this one. And then, I'd have to look at it under looking at the total here, man. The Valkyries have just really struggled to get points up on the board. And although we haven't seen the Lynx play up to their potential really yet, defensively, they have held their last 3 opponents under 80 points. They have hit under this number in each of those 3 games as well. Valkyries have hit under this line in 4 of their 5 games played this season and have only reached 80 points once so far. So, like I said, this line had opened up at 164.5, so we are not going to get the best of this number here, but the market is agreeing that this will be a lower scoring game. So guys, that is going to wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today and found the content helpful and useful. And if you did, Please do not forget to smash the like button down there and hit subscribe if you have not already. And drop a comment of your favorite play of the day. We got 4 games to dive into, so I'm sure you guys are cooking up some plays as well and looking at these things and finding different angles that I have not even looked at myself. I'm sure you got some bangers, man. So go ahead and throw them in the comments. Let's help each other out. Let's cash out. Have a great Sunday. I'll see you back Tuesday for our next video.